Thank you, Mr. President. Excellencies, colleagues, as we come to the close of this forum, let me begin by thanking you. Thanking you for your candor, thanking you for staying focused on what is at stake, and thank you for your determination. This week has reminded us of something important that came out of Seville, that despite a challenging global environment, the world can still come together, can still find common ground, and can still find solutions to shared challenges. Let me leave you with 3 takeaways. First, the pressure on developing countries is intensifying. Across our discussions, we heard again and again that many countries are being asked to do more with less fiscal space, less room to absorb shocks, and less certainty in the global environment. And new pressures are compounding old ones. The conflict in the Middle East is sending economic shockwaves far beyond the region through energy prices, food systems, inflation, exchange rate pressures, and higher borrowing costs. For countries already carrying heavy debt burdens and facing limited policy space, these are grave threats to their development progress. Second, our focus must pivot from commitments to delivery, and the pressure on developing countries makes that pivot increasingly urgent. Climate finance must flow at the scale needed to ensure energy security. Progress on international tax must advance so countries can mobilize resources and expand fiscal space. And investments in critical minerals must be managed to enable developing economies to claim a stake in the new economic opportunities, rather than watch the value extracted and flow elsewhere. The Borrowers Platform launched last week is a positive example of words translating into actions, a practical instrument built to give countries navigating debt challenges somewhere to turn for advice grounded in their own experience. I look forward to watching it take shape. The Seville commitment must now translate into progress that countries can see and feel. Jobs created, infrastructure built, families protected, communities made resilient, opportunity within reach, not in theory, but in practice. And third, none of this will happen at the scale that is required without stronger cooperation and stronger accountability. National leadership is indispensable. Country ownership is essential. And I'm pleased to see the National Focal Point Network that was launched this week. But countries cannot build resilience alone in a volatile and fragmented world. They need an international system that works for them, institutions that are responsive to their needs, partnerships that are coherent, and follow-up that is credible. And that is why the discussions this week on coordination, on country-led strategies, and on data monitoring and follow-up are so important. Implementation does not advance through good intentions alone. It advances when partners work together, when incentives align, and when actors are held to account. Excellencies, the real test begins now. The success of Seville will not be judged by the commitments that were made last June, but by whether those commitments change financing conditions for the countries that need them most. Through our success, we can restore confidence that multilateralism can still deliver where it matters most. That is the responsibility before us. So let us leave the forum with a sense of urgency, with discipline, and with a shared commitment to turn momentum into results. Because financing for development is, ultimately, about building a more stable, more just, and a more hopeful future for everyone to live a life of dignity. I thank you.